Once you actually start building your reports, you will need to be able to move objects around and resize them. Now, if we take my first report, we can see this has a number of fields: the first name, the surname, the email, and the date of birth. And instantly we can see a need for resizing and moving. The space taken up here, for example, by the first name and even by the surname is way disproportionate to the space needed for the data. And even if you scroll through, you can see that it is way too much space. The same for the surname, but then vice versa to that, the email does not have enough space. So that could do with resizing bigger rather than smaller. And when it comes to resizing and moving data objects, this can be done either in Preview or in Design. It makes no difference at all to Crystal reports. So we could be in Design and make a change, or we can be in Preview and make a change. Now I would suggest that for the bulk of the time you make changes in Design View, because there's less chance of actually making a mistake and slipping out because you're being distracted by the data. And the fact you only have one detail section here, and in the preview you have however many records, detail sections, in this case 385. You only have to edit one of the details and the others follow suit, but you can inadvertently slip out of the detail section, whereas in Design that's much more difficult to do. However, having said that, there are times when Preview is better for adjusting, resizing and moving because you can see the data. For our example here, the first name and the surname would probably be best adjusted in Preview where we can see the widest entry. So if I want to resize the first name field, I firstly have to select it, and you can see you get 4 handles around your field. Those 4 handles are the resizers, and you just need to move the mouse to any one of them. So I'm going to take it to the right hand side here. It changes into a double-headed arrow. At that point I can click and drag either way. I could go wider if I wanted. In this case I'm going to go narrower. I just need to double check that I haven't, by quickly flicking through, made it so narrow that somebody's name gets truncated. Nope, that's about right. And then the same with the surname. So again, Parker, double-headed arrow, and drag a bit narrower. I'm just looking down the page at Harvington, but I need to just quickly flick through. There's no point in looking at every single record. That one's slightly there. So even if I'm adjusting that one to make myself see it all, it adjusts all the others. Yep, this is a very long surname. I think that's probably covered it. So it's just being careful that you don't make the field too narrow because it will then truncate the display of the data. So these 2 fields are now a lot narrower. They're more realistic in their size. And what I really need to do is move the surname closer to the first name. So I can do that here. Again, I'm in Preview. I grab any one of the detailed surnames and drag. See how it's suddenly jumping up there or jumping down? It can get lost very quickly. So I'm just going to move it there. Notice that the label came with it. Now you can do that in Preview as we have done, or in Design. Now in Design I can see the right hand side of that field, which I can't in Preview. I don't really know where that ends without clicking on it, but then I can't move this one. In Design, I can see the right hand side, and I know I can go pretty much quite close to that because nobody's name uses the whole rectangle. So that's resizing and moving, both in Design and in Preview. The email address field, I know that that needs widening, so I'm going to widen it from this side, double-headed arrow of the resize handle. And let's come all the way across to there, and then Preview, and we can see the email address is now fit. I haven't got that problem of a double line entry where it's wrapped. Possibly they are a little too wide, so I'm going to resize them down a bit, grab the resized handle, drag to the right, look through just to make sure. There's one quite long one there, but it still fits, and we're all in. Now I've got room to bring the date of birth across, so we take that field and drag to the right, but you can see I don't know how far I can drag it, so let's do that in Design. So it's just deciding which is the right view for the action you're trying to carry out. Sometimes it's Preview because you're trying to resize the field and you don't want to truncate any data. Sometimes it's moving a field closer to another one, which is certainly best done in Design mode. And then we can go to Preview and see that we are now a lot closer and a lot neater. And in fact, we've used less space. We could actually bring in another field there. So we bring back our Field Explorer, decide on an extra field. Now we can add fields, as you've already seen, in design mode, but you can also add them in preview. Let's bring in the gender. So we grab the field, drag it into correct location, which is there, and then the gender appears in everybody's field. And the gender gets a green tick because it's now been added to the report. So you can add those fields in either mode, you can resize the fields in either mode, you can move the fields in either mode. My labels are just a little bit close to the top edge there. So in design, I could select all of these labels by shift click or control click. Good thing about Crystal is it does not care. Once they're all selected, what you will notice is that only one of the fields has handles around it, and this is the one then to use if you want to resize all those labels or if you want to move all those labels. So I can just move them up slightly, just to move them away from the border. So then I've got a little bit of a gap there. So in preview, I can see the labels then sit just above. Just makes that little bit of tidy space on the report. So I can move, I can resize, I can multiple object move and resize. That multiple selecting, in either mode, is done by single clicking and then shift click or control click any of the other controls that you would like to resize or move.